Well, guys, it's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's not Superman, actually. Joining us today are the super women of comics, and I'm very excited to have them here.
That's right. Super women is a good way to put it. The world of comics is officially co-ed, if you guys haven't heard that, at Comic-Cons across the country, and there was a huge one here in New York City. Women are stepping out and showing their superpowers as the emerging leaders in the industry. And at New York's Comic-Con, which was just, what was it, I think last weekend, right? The Women of Marvel panel, hosted by Marvel Comics, actually sold out completely. And people really wanted to hear from the ladies who are creating new characters and rising to the top of this very male-dominated industry. So joining us today is Kelly Sue DeConnick, a comic book writer and editor, and she is best known for writing the Captain Marvel series for Marvel Comics. If you are someone who is not, if you don't know all your characters, Captain Marvel is actually higher ranking than Captain America, I read.
That's right.
So there you go.
That's right. she was a full bird colonel before she left the active duty. So yes.
Good. I love that. And of course, another Marvel maven is with us. Jeanine Schaefer is an editor at Marvel and a self-proclaimed feminist, and she has a lovely background today. We were all commenting. Love her Iron Man. So ladies, welcome. So glad you're here to talk to us about this today. So Kelly, you had a lot of interesting things to say on this panel, and you said some things that really stirred the pot, which I love. You said, I am willing to make other people uncomfortable so my daughter won't have to, and I appreciate and I'm proud of the progress that's being made, but I don't want to sweep it under the table. The job isn't done. Nobody sit down. What did you mean by that exactly?
Pretty much just that, exactly. I mean, you know, I think that women working in this industry isn't new. Female characters in this industry aren't new. We've always been here. There were women that preceded me. There are women who will come after. But there has been over the last few years this real antagonism that has emerged in both the industry and in the fandom towards the female participation. And you know, I think the dominant genre in comic books in America is superhero comics, and superhero comics are meant to espouse the kind of morality that is about fighting for the little guy and fairness and justice. And I think bullying ladies out of an industry is actually quite counter to those things that our superheroes stand for. And you know, I want to see women in all parts of the industry and in all parts of the world be able to pursue the things that interest them without disparagement, because that's ridiculous. There's nothing inherently masculine about superheroes. There's nothing inherently masculine about heroism. There's nothing inherently masculine about the pulp aesthetic, about science fiction. You know, there is nothing that should keep a woman from feeling at home in any of these places.
Well, there's some bit of progress, right? She-Hulk and Black Widow are both getting their solo books. That's right.
Oh yeah, there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, we just announced at the show this weekend, we announced She-Hulk is getting a new book. We announced Black Widow is getting a new book. Elektra is getting her own book. I know there's one that I am leaving out. And Captain Marvel is actually getting a huge push from us because we love the book so much. So it's going to be relaunching with a new artist. You know, Kelly Sue has a new direction for it. And honestly, it's because the fans have been so vocal about how much they love this stuff, and it's specifically how much they love Captain Marvel. She has a huge following. I mean, like one of the biggest fandoms in comics.
Do you have any idea if your fans are more female than male, or is it a mixture?
Well, the Women of Marvel panel, I would say, I mean, it was definitely probably more women in the audience than men, but what was so heartening to me was to see the number of male fans that were there, and were there to be supportive, and were there to thank us, and were there to say how much they wanted to help, what could they do to help, to talk about what they were doing in stores. It's really awesome.
I think that there's a because of the perception, I think that I mean, and it's hard to say. There's no hard numbers on anything, but it's about 50-50 gender-wise as to who I see at personal appearances and the letters and mail that I get. But 50-50 in comic books looks disproportionately female. If that makes sense.
That's funny.
Well, Kelly Sue, how did you first get into the world of comics to begin with? Tell us a little bit about how that started.
As a reader or as a pro?
Both. You grew up reading comics?
I did. I grew up on military bases. My father was in the Air Force, and so we traveled around quite a bit. And during a formative period of my life, I lived on base in Germany, and we did not get, well, we got one American television station, but it was not, how you say, good. So we read a lot, and comic books are a big part of military culture, or at least they were in the 70s. I would assume probably still so today.
They still are now.
Yeah, I would imagine. It makes a lot of sense because superheroes are the dominant genre, and these are people who have given their lives over to service. That makes sense to me, that they would find something to identify with in superhero comics. So there was a lot of comic book reading when I was a kid. And in fact, when we came back to the States, I put them down for a while because, frankly, I just didn't know where to buy them. And then I came in and out. I came back for Teen Titans, dropped it again after the used bookstore where I got them didn't have them anymore. And then when I was in high school, was given by Elaine Dove, who was my comics pusher. She gave me Sienkiewicz's Elektra Assassin. So when I heard Elektra was getting a new series, I was very psyched. So
I've never been to Comic-Con before, but I'm curious to just kind of hear what the atmosphere was this year, only because recently I saw a meme that was going around Tumblr where some of the female cosplayers were talking about experiencing sexual harassment at different conventions, and that's something that I've heard a lot about from female cosplayers. So is that something that was talked about on this panel, or is that something that you have experienced, or maybe seen some sort of apprehension to maybe be more involved in cons for those reasons?
Honestly, when I see that stuff, it makes me want to do it more. You know, because I want to say, like, I'm not leaving here, you know.
Right.
And I think there were a lot of stories about harassment at this convention, which was super upsetting.
There were also 130,000 people,
Yeah.
I think. So
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I went to Comic-Con in New York a couple of years ago, and I actually felt like I was overdressed as a woman, because all the women there were just like Princess Leia, like in the bikini and everything. You know, not everyone, but it just seemed like a lot of the girls there were definitely sexing it up for the masses there.
Careful,
you know?
though. Careful.
I'm saying, just obviously, first of all, I'm being a little funny, but I did see a lot of women dressed up there, like in a very sexual way. I'm being honest.
I mean, but isn't that what the characters were wearing? I mean,
absolutely. I'm not blaming any. Believe me. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
No,
I'm just saying that I was surprised. You know, that just is what I was saying, because I certainly didn't see any guys with, like, your abs out. Not that there were that many abs to begin with.
What's funny is that actually this year was the first year where I saw there were so many dudes with no shirts on. It was kind of crazy.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. The 300 cosplayers.
Yeah. But I mean, what I think is really interesting is, you know, women who cosplay, and I don't cosplay, so I'm speaking. I don't want to speak on behalf of, you know, people that I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, I do know a lot of people who cosplay, and you know, there's a woman here who is a huge cosplayer. Her name is Judy Stevens, and she's a photographer, and she does a lot of digital stuff for us. She does this huge AR program here that she runs amazingly. But I think when you see more and more women feeling more and more comfortable expressing who they are and who they want to be and who they look up to, and the versions of that, the fantasy that they get to actually play out, where it's normally the male power fantasy, I think that, to me, that speaks to women feeling more comfortable in this environment and being able to wear the things that they want to wear without fear of being grabbed at or abused or called a fake fangirl or, you know, whatever number of horrible things.
I think you saw the reaction out of us that you did, and I didn't mean to. I didn't mean anything accusatory there. What I said, be careful, because where that conversation tends to trend toward is we have these characters that we have given these highly sexualized costumes to, and then we claim as an industry that no, they're empowered by it.
Right. That's
and
funny.
then when the women who are incredibly gifted costume manufacturers, I don't know, like they're
The
really,
cosplayers.
The cosplayers do this incredible job creating like a real live walking around facsimile of that, and then we come down on them like a sack of hammers for whoring it up when they're just doing exactly what we gave them.
Exactly. I'd like to see a comic book character in like a Hillary Clinton power suit, like something super unsexy. Like let me play too. You know what I mean? Let me like.
Amanda Waller is your jam.
That is
exactly
what I was going to say.
And number two, might I mention a little woman by the name of I don't know, Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. She wears a flight suit, baby.
That's awesome.
Right.
And, very flattering.
Yeah, and the thing is too that. Like, and it's hilarious to me because, depending on how, we talk about like how much skin is revealed or whatever, and it's like, yeah, but there are very few comic artists that actually like it pretty much just looks like painted skin no matter what. So I'm not sure where the I'm not sure where the distinction is, but
Kelly Sue, I have a question for you about comic artists in general. How do young women who are interested in pursuing a career like yours or Janine's, how do you even break in to the business?
There is a famous quote by this woman, Devin Grayson, who is a predecessor of mine, and she says breaking into comics is like breaking into Fort Knox. Once they figure out how you did it, they make sure no one can do it that way again. It's that there's an element of truth to that, but the dirty little secret about comics is that the wall to getting published is actually not that high. Like you can publish your own comic. You can have your comic printed by the same people that print Marvel and DC and Images comics for, I think it's like about $2,000 for a print run. So you could Kickstarter and get your own comic made. It depends on what is considered success to you. So if you need to be published by the big two to feel that you've made it, well, you should start working very hard because...
Now, is that something that you could, is there a field at your school are there schools that have comic programs? Are there internships? I mean, what are like the actual steps? Because, it's a great idea to say publish, but how does one start drawing? How do you even get to have those skills?
Well, there are schools where you can go to take classes in comic art, SVA in New York, there's SCAD in Savannah, any school probably has an illustration program if that's what you're looking for. Probably not a specific sequential arts program, but Marvel does have an internship program where, pretty much if it fulfills a college requirement for you, you can come and intern with us for a semester, and we can place you in any number of departments that we have, whether it's editorial, digital, marketing, production, and you can learn the different aspects of the job, depending on what you're interested in.
That's incredible to know about.
And I would say too, for people who I thought that I could do comics in the first place because I saw women's names in comics. I saw their names as editors and as writers and pencilers, and I was like, oh, I didn't know. Like, I thought that they just magically appeared out of air, or there were these 5 guys sitting in a room who made them. And when I started to realize, like, I could do this too, it made me want to go out there and figure out how to do it. And I would say for women who are looking to break in to do the same thing, if there's a book that you like by a writer that you like or by an editor that you like, I mean, I look at samples that I get, and if someone sends me something that says, dear Jeanine, I love X-Men, I think I would be really great there. Like, I would love for you to look at my stuff. Like, it makes me feel like, oh, this is a person who wants to be here, and I want them to be here.
It's really about taking initiative.
Speaking of that, you guys, we actually do have a question from a fan, so let's try to get this answered because I bet they really want to know. When can we expect a digital series with Peggy Carter that runs alongside Winter Soldier and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? What can you tell them?
I don't even know what that question means, but I'm ready. I'm ready for the answer.
It's not for you. It's for our comic lady.
Well,
Superwoman.
Peggy Carter is super badass, and I love her. I do not know the answer to that question, but I can find out more information on it if someone wants to tweet at me, and I can totally get back to them. I just literally do not know the answer.
I have a question, by the way. I just want to know, when is it like too early, or is it too early to be She-Hulk for Halloween? Because
never too early.
She-Hulk, actually, you should start. You should probably start putting the makeup on now.
Should I?
It takes a while. Yeah.
Should I go on? Do you guys watch Face Off on the Sci-Fi Channel? Because that is like my favorite show on television, and maybe I should like sneak in. Okay, just wanted to know. Thank you.
So one last thing, you guys, can you both tell us what is your favorite aspect of being in this industry as women?
Honestly, go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I mean, I don't know how to answer the question as a woman, but my favorite thing is writing stories about. Writing stories. I get to make up stories for a living. It's a pretty fantastic way to spend your life. So I'm grateful to everyone who affords me that ability.
I was going to say the same thing. I can't believe that I get to work on X-Men. It was like all I ever wanted to do, and now I get to play around with the characters and to help people tell the stories that they want to tell, and it's so awesome.
Well, you guys are great. It was really a pleasure meeting you. I think we've all learned a lot about this world that we didn't know so much about. It's really inspiring. And
you'll have to come to Comic-Con next year.
Oh my God, I am so coming. My friend's daughter was trying to get me to go, and I should have. I totally should have. So everybody, we want to encourage to follow us, follow our two lovely guests. Obviously, people have a lot of questions for you, Jeanine. If people are going to tweet you got to be ready because you're going to get like 1,000 X-Men questions of what's happening next.
I'm ready.
Anyway, I hope you will join us again soon.